So my first question is, could you describe a typical day in your life as Sikyong?
Typical day in Dharamsala. I don't wake up very early because I manage to go to sleep only around 11, 12 at night, because after I come back from office, then I start calling people, watch news, read materials and all that. So most of the time, it's a series of meetings every day, 10, 12, 3, 4, depending on the length of the meeting, people who come to meet us. So it's a lot of meeting with people, a lot of, and since right now I'm handling both the job of Sikyong and 4 other departments that I have to take care of. So there are a lot of administrative work also involved. So it's almost full day meeting. I try to avoid as much informal functions and all, but that takes away half a day. If you just go for one program, then you have to sit there, speak, and then come back. Half a day is gone. So normally I go to office by 9, then I start meeting people, have meetings throughout the day. Lunch, I told you, I read my newspapers. Then after I come back from office, there's no time for me to attend calls and during daytime. So only in the evenings, then I call people. I read newspapers. So we have to be informed all the time about every given issue. Then only you'll be in a position to speak to others.
So then that leads me on to, how do you unwind and relax after a long day?
As much as possible, I try not to invite people home after work, so that I'm by myself. Even the person who helps me with the food, he cooks and leaves before I come home, so that I'm not disturbed. Then I'm by myself, then I apply all my thoughts on official work. So sometimes if I say 24 hours, maybe I'm exaggerating sleep time also. But otherwise, every available time, we need to focus on work. Think. The more you apply your mind, the more sharp it becomes.
So do you have a favorite book that you would recommend to others?
Right now, I would say I've been telling the international community about Tibet's history. I tell our people also, because to understand Tibetan history, it's very important that we send a message to China. We send a message to the international community also. Some foreign officers, I ask them, have you ever read Tibetan history to take a position on Tibet's history? Those things. And then, of course, our younger generation. If our people don't read Tibetan history, no one else will. No one else in the sense, except for maybe few people who study Tibetan history or who wanted to learn more about Tibet. Otherwise, nobody cares. There's so many things at this moment in life, where you have your mobile phone and you can be busy whole day. So people should take out time to read Tibet's history. So one book is Michael Van Walt, Van Praag's, and his partner Mick Baltius. They both have come out with this book called Tibet Brief 2020. And this is an outcome of 8 years of work. Unfortunately, most of the Western world look at Chinese history for Asian history. And unfortunately, those are mostly propaganda. So what Michael did was he met with some 70, 80 scholars from in Asia. And he came out with this book over 8 years. And this book was published about 2.5 years ago. So this is one book that we use to tell the foreign officers and other governmental agencies about the history of Tibet. And in that book, he proves that whether it's Tibet-Mongol relationship or Tibet-Ming relationship, Mings are real Chinese, Han Chinese, or Tibet-Qing relationship, Qings are Manchus, he proves that as per the definition of nation-state or the relationship between nation-state those days, and as per international law today, Tibet has never been considered part of China. Then now another book will come out shortly in English, and the title will be known also shortly. And this is written by a Chinese professor. He's a Chinese professor on Tibetan history. And his approach was totally different from Michael's. Because this Chinese professor, Professor Lau, who is now retired and lives in San Diego, his approach was to study only Chinese imperial historical records from Yuan to Ming to Qing, from 1271 to 1911. So the Yuan is from 1271 to 1368. That's the period when the Mongols ruled China. But the Mongols were there even before that and after that also. Then the Mings took over from 1644 to 1368 to 1644, and the Qings took over from 1644 to 1911. So we have our own history during that period. So Lao proves that as per the imperial Chinese historical records, Tibet has never been considered part of China by the Chinese imperials, if we can consider the Manchus and Yuan also as Chinese. So these two books, I would suggest young Tibetans read that. Then at least you know your own history to talk to other people.
So my next question is, what subject did you enjoy most at school?
In school, we did all the normal courses that we used to. There was nothing, no favorite, nothing of that sort. When we were children, we didn't know much about, when we were in grade 11, 12, we didn't know what is beyond that in colleges, how many departments and all that. That was way back in 1985 when we finished our higher secondary. Only after joining college we knew that there are so many departments. I took up economics because economics is always a very vibrant subject, always present, and it involves everything. So if you study economics, it touches all other parts of life, and it's very dynamic.
Mm-hmm. So who do you look up to as your role model?
Of course, His Holiness, but then His Holiness up there, we are so down, but as much as possible. I always tell my cabinet ministers also to be truthful. We do a lot of work, we may make mistakes. So if you try to hide that mistake by telling another lie, then you have to tell 2 more lies, 4 more lies to hide, and that's never ending. So if you make a mistake, acknowledge it, say sorry. It's best. If you keep repeating the same mistake by lying again and again, then it doesn't work. Someday you will have problem. The reason why I can be so confident about my work and speak about this because I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to be shameful about. If you have done something wrong, then you always have to worry about when will this spill out. When will people come to know about this? So if you don't have anything of that sort, there's nothing to fear. Then you can be very confident about what you speak. So His Holiness is he just one single word from His Holiness is also so encouraging. And I say, apart from many of the deeds of His Holiness, one of the deed of His Holiness is to keep our spirit alive. Even after 63 years, if it is any other community, we would have been, I don't know where we would be, When we first came into exile, it was only about 80,000 Tibetans. If those 80,000 had spread across India, today India is 1.4 billion, but at that time maybe 500 million. But if you spread 80,000 in 5 million, you never know what's going to happen. So maybe the Tibetans are speaking Punjabi or Chinese or Tamil, Hindi or Tamil, not Tibetan language. But because of the foresightedness of His Holiness, then we started compact communities, established our own schools, monastic institutions, and cultural institutions. So that is why we managed to preserve that is how we managed to preserve our identity, and all under the guidance of His Holiness.
So my next question is, what is the most valuable piece of advice you've received so far?
Be truthful and always be genuine in your heart. You show something and do something, or act something in front and do something at the back. That is never good. So the being truthful, being genuine as a person, and then, of course, helpful nature. Don't think only about yourself. Think about the welfare of others. Then you are part of that. Right? If others are happy, you'll also be happy. If you are the only one who is happy and all others are in agony, then you won't be happy. And that is the essence of Buddhism also.
What is the most satisfying aspect of being Sikyong?
To be able to do what you want to do. Because people may do all kinds of jobs, but some do it for money, some do it for other purposes. But here, whether your salary is good or not, that doesn't matter. Because people working in the Central Tibetan Administration are not there for salary. If I want to make money, I could be doing other things. But then being committed to your cause and be able to dedicate your life to the cause. It's very important.
So what's something about Tibet that you wish more people were aware of?
Unfortunately, most of the people these days don't have time to go into details. Otherwise, I think His Holiness teachings, because we lost our country, that's bad. But the good side is the world gained the Dalai Lama. So we have to learn to look from the positive side also. Don't always look from negative side. Because some people complain that, oh, this is that. I said, you should thank them. If not for them, this won't happen. So for every incident, whether it's good or bad, there will be fallouts. There will be impact. And impacts can also be both good and bad. So now, my mind is now geared towards how do we turn every challenge into an opportunity. So just like the example I gave you, we face two challenges of the dispersing community and the Tibetans who don't have anything to call their home. So we decided to combine these two challenges into an opportunity, because one complements, one is a solution for the other. So of course we have to now make sure that we get the money to do that. But otherwise, this is how, if we learn to turn challenges into opportunities, that's the best way.
So what's your favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
Quote. I'm not very much a quote person. When I speak in the parliament also, you won't see me quoting quotes. I don't normally, I just speak what is the reality. Not many quotes. But then, of course, I always tell foreigners, when they say, how hopeful are you? Will there be a future for Tibet and all that? Then we tell them, as Buddhists, we don't believe in permanence. We believe in impermanence. And for Western psychologists also, they say change is the only constant. So China also has to change. And we should never, ever lose hope. Never, ever. Never, ever.
So my last question is, and I think you've touched on this before, what message do you have for the Tibetan youth?
This, now, all I can say is right now, our generation is taking the responsibility. Before that, previous generation has taken the responsibility. Now, in future, the youth will have to take the responsibility. Now, if you have to take the responsibility, then you also should know what your responsibility is. So you have to prepare from now, and our job is to inform the youth about what is happening inside Tibet. Our job is to create a platform for the youth to come aboard and join the cause in whatever capacity they can. So we have a lot of hope from the new generation, because unlike the previous generation, now the younger generation have all the opportunities. They get all kinds of education, they get all kinds of access to a lot of things which we never had access to. So considering that, I think your generation should be much, much more efficient than our generation. But still, since we came through a generation who had to struggle a lot, the new generation, they don't have to struggle that much. So a person who has struggled much, the result is always tastier. So even if you have to suffer sometimes, you have to take that in your stride. Then only will you value success. If success comes easily, there is no value. If you work hard for the success, then there is value for the success.
Thank you, Ngawang, for taking the time to answer our questions. We greatly appreciate the opportunity that you've given us to learn a bit more about you outside of your role as Sikyong.
Thank you.